The F-16 Falcon from America is unkillable fighters. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is equipped with an unusual distinction. One of just world's best jet fighters will also swiftly and exceedingly agilely for a low cost. The F-16's minimal running costs range from 30 to 40% less expensive than other fourth generation, 3 to 4 times fewer platforms, more powerful twin-engine fighter. Hello and welcome to KYC News. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. This advantageous cost-benefit analysis has not been overlooked by air forces worldwide. The F-16 presently continues to be the contemporary and most popular aircraft service in the military. Out of 4,600 generated, roughly 3,000 F-16s are in service, are in use now in 25 different nations. Obviously, the innovative fourth 1980s fighter generation will stay with us for quite some time more. The problem gave rise to the F-16. The Air Force encountered in the Veterans War F-4 Phantom fighters were swift and powerful, performed poorly compared to the North Vietnamese Air Force as a result of an insufficient long-range missile technology and a lack of skill with tight maneuvering during dogfights led to a group referred to as the Fighter Mafia. You could say that the Air Force had its own design. Priorities were all wrong, and that really required was a reasonably priced airframe that was light and maximized energy for close-quarters dogfights. Instead, then, a second powerful twin-engine fighter such as the F-15 Eagle, which was then growth that would undoubtedly be excessive reliance on subpar directed. In fact, the Eagle continued to demonstrate that creation was in fact feasible. A twin-engine jet that can move quite well. If he didn't care about the price and improved air-to-air missiles, strong support for Bright ultimately consolidated in the fighter Pentagon because of the air's basic economics, despite the fact that Force thought the F-15 was too costly to outfit all of its fighter squadrons, leading to eventually two high-low force mixed prototypes competed against one another. The Northrop YF-23 Animus trial in 1974 Lee was discovered to be more receptive, while the former changed to become a Hornet. Combatants serving in the Marines today and U.S. The Navy's first batch of F-16s went on to join the military in 1980. By the F-16B two-seater, the F-16's single engine made use of innovative technology methods to improve kinematic. Strong Pratt & Whitney performance F-100 engine with an undermount intake. A fuselage might produce a fantastic weight-to-thrust ratio as a result of general lack of weight of the Falcon, causing the F-16 to travel at twice the speed of pronounced rakes at high altitude. Resembling a cobra's hood, protruded from the chopped wing on the fuselage. Delta wings allow for extremely high roll speeds that a protruding bubble canopy provided a good field of vision for the pilot who was lounging 30 degrees off the seat degrees in order to reduce the severe movement's G-forces, as well as the F-16 might execute extremely violent jet-performing maneuvers to become the first jet warrior who can turn at 9 Gs. Until now, tighter than any other U.S. fighter, the F-22 Raptor's introduction. This explains the type of air service aerobatic team Force's Thunderbirds. And in order to increase its mobility, the F-16 was created with the purpose of becoming unstable in aerodynamics, a deficiency which its automated flight control system paid for. This work in accordance with the F-16's then the groundbreaking fly-by-wire, a control system that essentially implied that the controls for the pilot were interpreted through a digital interface rather than using a hydraulic or cable. Not only were attached manual controls more dependable fly-by-wire controls, but furthermore, they enabled the using a flight simulator to correct the pilot's maneuvers as required to prevent surpassing. Another of the Falcon's limits included a built-in throttle in the hands-on throttle joystick for a much easier transition, and stick. POTUS, fly-by-wire, and pilot operation OTIS are now considered to be standard characteristics. Modern combat aircraft, as opposed to the Falcon's earlier F-14 and F-15 models, was created to be a warrior with multiple roles. It could carry as much as 17,000 pounds of weaponry or electronic warfare equipment on. Among its 11 hardpoints is a new generation of fine-tuned weapons, Maverick missiles, for example 20mm bombs with laser guidance, the lower fuselage, and the Vulcan cannon. Ironically, it was used as a backup weapon. The fighter mafia, however, had little faith the F-16 USA's guided missile technology arrived just as such weapons became available. A new standard of effectiveness and the APG Falcon's Doppler radar heads-up display with 66 and computer targets were able to use these weapons to your devastating advantage. June 1982 served as a demonstration of this when F-15 and F-16 Israeli aircraft engaged in a heavy three-day air combat over the Bekaa, the valley's defense of Syrian jet fighters. Syrians outnumber Israeli Falcons 44-1. MiG-21 and MiG-23 without experiencing a one defeat during the middle of the 1980s. The serving F-16C and two-seat D at the moment models touted when they went into service. Liquid crystal contemporary avionics screens and brand new APG-68 radars that made long-range missiles possible. Interactions with more modern AIM-7 Sparrow and soon-to-be released AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles. Since then, C and D have undergone several more little upgrades, such as enhanced radars, GPS, and targeted attack. The integration of the capabilities with the Sidewinder heat-seeking missile, AIM-9X, for which the pilot can use a queuing system installed on a helmet, allowing using an F-16 to fire at an adversary within or without having to line them up. Visual range up front and center of its nose. The U.S. F-16 fleet debuted in combat during the 1991 Gulf War. It flew more than 13,000 missions of strike laden with explosives weighing 2,000 pounds, and Maverick F-16 missiles were mounted atop the largest ever airstrike over central Baghdad. Two of the ships used in the 72-ship configuration Q, the Falcons, were downed by airstrike. During the raid, defensive rockets and their pilots grabbed control of one squadron and performing wild weasel duties by pursuing surface-to-air missile arrays in Iraq. The Air Force has AGM-88 damage missiles. Also made an effort to improve the F-16 as an A-10 Thunderbolt replacement and by equipping the close air support function. The 138th Fighter Wing's F-16CS and DS 30mm paved cloth squadron pods of Gatling cannons, but the light-the-weight jet's reaction to the concept was the recoil of weapons abandoned. But the A-10 fleet made it through yet another murder among many efforts made by Air Force brass following the combat officially over. F-16s applying the no first kill was recorded by Python over Iraq. Used a distant AIM-120 Scorpion when they shot down a swift MiG-25 since the Gulf War. Foxbat, the Falcon being commonplace in U.S. and NATO aviation. The former Yugoslavia in campaigns. American and Belgian F-16s are in Iraq and Syria. Knocked down more enemy aircraft over Kosovo and Serbia in the 1990s, even though two were killed by Serb. The F-16 sold surface-to-air missiles. I've also witnessed a lot of action abroad. Pakistani F-16 shot down during hostilities. 10 Soviet and Afghan aircraft were flying on it during the 1980s, and in 1992, two Venezuelan Falcon pilots were instrumental role in putting down a coup's backers through the elimination of Tu-10 Broncos and a Takano. In the Rebel movie, trainer shoots the Falcon by one count. The U.S. Air Force today down 76 enemy aircraft force plans to keep flying its 1,200 F-16s by the year 2040, prolonging the service life of the airframes between 8,000 and 12,000 hours. The Fighting Falcon has shown to be a good product and adaptable combat jet. In addition, one count puts the price at $22. Operating cost per flight is $1,000 against $42,000 for a twin-engine. If the small, maneuverable fighter has any F-15 problems, are that the F-16's radar is outdated and that the type wasn't intended to carry a lot of gasoline, restricting its 340 miles or the maximum fighting radius on Pentagon internal storage should eventually take appropriate action, especially to maintain that. Fleet current implementation of PG-83 ASA radars. Additionally, the use of conformal fuel tanks. Despite these problems, the F-16 is more than acquired its current well-liked moniker the Viper and will be popular among pilots, continue to play a significant part in worldwide military aviation for decades from now.